Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And today you are watching Yankees Unloaded following a Yankees loss. A Yankees loss that, Gary, I don't want to be, all doom and gloom and everything, but I'm actually very excited to touch on this.
Me too.
Probably one of the more exciting losses of the year. What I mean by that is they lost 9-3, so no heartbreak. You knew it was over when it was over, and okay, that's fine. It's annoying. It's the Red Sox. It's annoying they lost their third series this year against AL East teams. But the thing that has me so excited is because so many different things happened in this game. And I don't want to make too much of the game, but I also don't want to make too little of it because I think there were a lot of things that translate down the road where, we're seeing it, on Yankees Twitter, and I know people can be impulsive, but Garrett, I think just conversing with you before we got started here, I think we're kind of in agreement. So I'm going to let you let it rip because you already have Gleyber Torres's page, Fangraphs page just pulled up, or Baseball Savant. So
yeah,
shout
out to Baseball Savant because this is a podcast that's not heavy analytics. I'll just be completely honest with you guys. For those of you who are new at this channel, this YouTube show, there are other networks that are going to really dive into the analytics and harp on them and draw conclusions about them. But this channel, on the other hand, has been a channel that's really dug deep into the eye test. And the eye test tells me that Gleyber Torres is a player who needs to hit. Okay? That's the short conclusion about Gleyber Torres. If he's not an offensive, at the very least, the offensive unit he was in 2023 and 2022, he is useless to this organization. He is not fleet of foot. Baseball Savant actually tells me he doesn't have the strongest arm you've seen. He's not a high energy player, to which you've actually alluded to just before we went live, which is interesting. Okay. And of course, today's at bat really illustrated to us exactly what his entire season's been about, which is a lack thereof of adjustments. And that's something that's really irked me watching this player, because Gleyber Torres is not the only player that struggled at one point in time in this season. There have been plenty of other players on this team in 2024 alone that have struggled. But one thing's for certain is they don't do things the exact same way over and over again and expect some type of different result, or it seemingly doesn't matter. Now, let's actually take a look at Baseball Savant. So you would say, well, Gleyber Torres, if he's hitting 222, he must have power. He must in 2024, he must be doing damage. He also has to have some type of role on the team where you'd say, yes, he's hitting in a spot in the lineup where a guy who's offense oriented, it would be justified because he's hitting in this spot. Gleyber Torres is hitting anywhere between 6th through 9th in this lineup. The Yankees don't put him into any position with any type of responsibility whatsoever. Okay, so Gleyber Torres right now, these are stats, no opinions. His barrel percentage is in the bottom 39th percentile. Okay, expected batting average, bottom 10th percentile. Expected on base, bottom 21st. His K rate, below league average, 36th percentile. Whiff rate, 40th percentile. The only thing that sticks off on the page that's in red, and I'm going to give him his credit, is chase rate, to which we've said is important, swinging at strikes. And we talked about it all at the beginning of the year. Juan Soto's arrival, we want more players who can command the strike zone. This is something Gleyber Torres has done just fine. Okay, so we give him his credit. His range is in the top 82nd percentile. Very good. His arm's below average. His foot speed is in the bottom quarter of the league. Are you kidding me right now? Jake, this is a player who is not fleet of foot. He's not putting the ball in the seats. He's striking out far more than he's walking. He doesn't play great defense. He doesn't have the best glove. And his energy, frankly, is not there either. And then the worst part of all of it, to which where I started this conversation, is that he's not making any adjustments. He's not making quality outs. Today's game, when you come up with the bases loaded, clear as day, you need to be putting the ball in play. Okay? It's your only job. It's not easy in Major League Baseball to put the ball in play. We can't get on this show and pretend it is. It is not. Okay? There's a reason there are a lot of top prospects in baseball that come up. They never amount to anything. But one thing is for certain about Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres has been in this league for years now. He's making $14.2 million a year to play baseball. The Yankees knew coming into this year, this contract season, this is not a player we're relying on his glove. We're relying on his bat. He has not shown up with the bat at all. Okay, so you're asking a lot of me, Jake, and not you, but a lot of people are asking a lot of me to present this player with any type of role whatsoever after the trade deadline for a team that's going to go out there and try to win a World Series. When you go look across the way at the Baltimore Orioles, there are not many holes. There are not. And the bottom line is, Jake, if you really want to go out and win a World Series, this is the type of player. I alluded to 2023 and 2022, to which he hit 49 homers between those two seasons. This is a player that's done it before, and I just don't know how often I can sit up here and cape up for a player based on what you did last year. I can't do that. You've got to go out and give me some type of baseline, and right now, your baseline and your floor is far too low.
So he started off his career having 24 homers. Then he had 38, right? Then he had 3.
And that was in the juice ball area, by the way.
Yeah. Then he had 3. Then he had 9. Then he had 24, 25, and now he has 6. He's a career 263 hitter. So he's hitting way below that. He's at 221 right now, 222.
222.
He's a career 331 on base percentage guy. He's got a 298 right now. He's a career 444 slugging percentage. He's at 333 right now. And he's a career 775 OPS guy. And he's at 631 right now. His WAR is 0.5. Pretty much everything, like statistically speaking, everything is the career low. This is his worst year of his career. Obviously 2020 shortened season. It's hard to really say, right? 2021, he hit 259. He had 9 homers, but he hit 259 and he had a better WAR than 0.8. Okay. The 2020 season he had negative 0.2 WAR. But after those 2 seasons, 4.1, last year 2.9. Okay. I think really what it comes down to is the Yankees were thinking Gleyber was going to be in probably hitting 25 bombs. And, I think really what it really comes down to is that he just seems to either he's not as athletic as he used to be, like as I would go as extreme as to say he's not as athletic this year as he was last year. He stole 13 bags last year. Do you think he's stealing 13 this year? He's got 4 now. I don't know how.
I say he would, because you have to consider this. It's not stealing bases is not all about athleticism. Mm-hmm. Stealing bases, you also have to get on base to do the shit. Like you got to get on first base. And to be honest with you, if Gleyber Torres was hitting 35 points higher, I mean, if we were even in the serviceable department, when you're not hitting a bunch of homers, but you're hitting 255, 260, I can at the least justify that you're moving the line and allowing our offense to kind of work its way around you. Hitting 250, I mean, that'll play, right? That's what we all were asking for DJ LeMahieu, right? He replaced Oswaldo, and we said, well, if he could hit 250, we'll take it. So if Gleyber Torres even hit 250 instead of 222, he probably steals 13 bags, but is 250 and 13 bags really worth $14 million? I mean,
well, and it would be more than that too. So when he gets paid, and I understand, okay, he's off to a bad start. Maybe he could turn it around. Yeah, but the trade deadline is fast approaching, whether people want to admit it or not. I mean, the Yankees have to decide whether or not, and we've been saying this so much, I sound like a broken record, but the Yankees are going to have to decide between Gleyber Torres, Rizzo, LeMahieu even, whether these guys are worth keeping on the roster. And you can't give me the whole, well, they're good for the locker room because, again, Monty, okay, Jordan Montgomery in 2022 was pitching very well when they traded him away. And he was unfairly treated, in my opinion, by the fans because they just assumed he couldn't pitch in the postseason. Remember that? They're just
I
like,
do.
oh, he can't pitch in the postseason. So you notice how we're not having that discussion now? Isn't that funny? We're not having that discussion now. We're just like, oh, okay, like Cortez will just go to the bullpen. We're not like, oh, we got to trade Cortez away because he can't pitch in October. Like, that was such a ridiculous narrative. But Harrison Bader, we all liked, so it was okay, whatever. But my point is, he was more impactful to that team than these guys are right now to this team. And I think the reality is that Gleyber Torres is not as good a player as he was a prospect. Because as a prospect, you're thinking keep in mind, he's the shortstop of the future. Okay. He moved to second base. Everyone has forgotten this guy was supposed to be the shortstop. So he already didn't meet expectations.
Yeah, it was already bad.
2019, you said the juice ball era. I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. Obviously, 38 home runs is great.
Absolutely.
A shortstop hitting 38 home runs, awesome. But the reality is that's not who he is. He's closer to this than he is to that. And he is 27, so he's going into his prime. If not, he's already there. But this is his worst year. And the timing, Gary, he's in a contract year. So, like, you know, this is normally when you see the best year out of guys because it's like, I got to get that bag. He is absolutely fumbling the bag. And my feeling is that the Yankees are looking at him. He's already been called out by Boone, who never calls out any of his players. He always sides with
Rarely
players.
ever.
He's like, you know, he's got to catch that. He dropped the pop-up, very lackadaisical. And I'm going to say the thing that I said off air. I don't care who dislikes it or whatever. I'm going to say it. Gleyber Torres is lackadaisical. He's a lackadaisical player. We saw him, okay, at that at-bat. Everyone's going to talk about that at-bat. I was more pissed about the throw from Trevino, okay, way late, right? Wild. Anthony Volpe's trying to, you know, keep it in front of him. It gets by him into the outfield. I played second base. That was my position. So I know, okay, I'm backing up the shortstop there on that throw. Simply put, where is he? No, the ball goes into the outfield, and Judge now has the responsibility, according to New York, you know, Yankees Twitter. He has the responsibility to get the ball in and throw out the guy going to third. Why is the guy ever going to third? The guy should not have been going to third because if he's properly backed up, if Gleyber Torres is doing his job as a second baseman when the throw is down to second base, if he's backing that up, this is baseball 101. This is little league shit. If he's backing that up, that guy's not advancing to third. Okay? There's no need to throw it in. Judge is not even a part of the play. You don't even see him in your living room because it just shows Gleyber Torres if he did his job. He did not. And this is something that's bothered me for a while. Doesn't really run out ground balls, right? He's not backing up guys. Like, he's not backing up Volpe on the throw to second.
He's not doing the little things. And he's also hitting 222.
That's
so
the thing.
That's the problem.
It's like he's become Robinson Cano without any of the perks of being Robinson Cano on the New York Yankees.
He's Cano, except he's not Cano. He's not hitting 294. Because we were so spoiled.
Casual, man.
Yeah.
Like, why is he so casual with the way he plays? I don't understand it. Play with some more fire. And you have Juan Soto on your team.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's a lack of fire. Here's what I think about Gleyber Torres. I think Gleyber Torres is just the type of player, and I'm going to compare him to a player that's playing in the AL Central right now, and that is Javi Baez. Javi Baez is a player that you would consider to be high energy. But what's so interesting about Javi Baez, because there's a play that really sticks out to me about Javi Baez, and he's always just been this quirky asset for any team he plays for, whether it be Chicago, Detroit, or the Mets.
He's such a
when
big
he's
name
going
for
right.
reason.
Yeah, that play that really stuck out to me about Baez was, remember when he got in that pickle between first and home, and you're just like, what the hell is going on? Well, Javi Baez was like running hard between first and home, which is despicable, like, right? Like it should never happen to a defense. But he was just flying around the bases, and it looks quirky. He looks like a high energy guy. He looks fun, right? The whole dugout's just dying laughing. Rizzo was in the dugout dying laughing, right? Go watch Javi Baez now. Somebody turn on a game and tell me what you see at a Javi Baez. When he puts the ball in play and he's hitting the ball all over the field, he's going the other way, he's got energy. But when he's not hitting, he's not the type of player who's going to do the little stuff. And you have to do the little things when you're hitting 200. Okay? Javi Baez, I've watched him hit a buck 75 for 2.5 months. I've seen it happen, right? Multiple times in multiple different stops, different organizations. He just will disappear for 2 months. But he won't do the small stuff. And it's the reason why fans of each organization will notice him, of all players, and say, that guy right there is just pissing me off. I don't know what it is. The reason it bothers you is because he doesn't clean up and do the little things in baseball. Everyone looks good when they're hitting homers, okay? Every single player, when they're going the other way, using all fields, they're hitting hanging breaking balls. They're not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone. They're only swinging at fastballs, middle. Yeah, all these players look really good. All of them look high energy. How can you look low energy hitting the ball in the gap and legging out a triple? You can't. But what are you when you're not right? Clearly, Gleyber Torres, 2 of the last 3 seasons, has been an excellent player. Last year, he was our second or third best player on our team. That's saying a lot. We were still a decent team. We had some injuries, but Gleyber Torres was exceptional last year. But having said that, who is he when he's not swinging the bat? Well, he's below league average. And I'm sorry, Gleyber, and I'm sorry to his agent. If you're below average, you can't do the little things. You refuse to do them. Your manager's got to call you out, and you can hit, your floor is 210, and you're not going to do the little stuff. I can't even properly, in good conscience, say you're going to be a part of this future. And by the way, Jake, when you mentioned that this is a down year, this is the year for the Yankees. This is the first time, and I told you this at the beginning of the year, that the Yankees actually are equipped to go win a World Series. You could absolutely argue that this team has some moves that they can make to shore up the roster, 100%. But this is the best chance they've had in a long time. This is not the year to be dancing around with players who don't have it going and don't bring their energy and don't do the little stuff. So it's either put up or shut up time, in my opinion, for Gleyber Torres. Between now and the deadline, you've got a choice. If I'm going to turn on Yes Network and watch your ass every day, you better be doing the little things where I turn on the game and say, okay, it's a 3-0 count. Am I seeing you swing out your shoes with a big leg kick and you only make adjustments with 2 strikes? I should be able to see clear as day that you're making adjustments. If you're not going to do those things, you're not the worth of having you on this roster. You're doing more harm than good. So I'm on this show right now telling everybody he's on notice on this show. He absolutely has the capability to do damage for this team, especially where he's at in the lineup. But if he's not going to hit and he's going to do lazy activity out there in the field and on the base pass, I mean, what are you asking from me on this show? Am I supposed to just say, hey, well, Gleyber Torres, hopefully he turns it on? Well, any player in Major League Baseball, if you wait long enough, is going to turn it on at some point. They're going to make some level of impact, Jake. If you watch them for 140 games, there's going to be a series where they go 6 for 14, and you say, wow, this is the guy we all were waiting for. No, I want to see consistent impact, and he just isn't doing it.
No, he's not. And, like we've talked about, I mean, he's spent 7 years with the Yankees. And, I mean, he has something to show for it. He's had some really good seasons, but the lack of consistency, I mean, if he doesn't put it together, they absolutely have every right to trade him away. He's not going to be back next year. Why would you keep him? Just for morale? He's not. He's hurting your team. I'll even go a step further, Gary. He only has 6 homers. Okay, right? Only 6 home runs. That's his main thing. Where it's like, okay, he's got some power. All that, and so he's only got 6 home runs. The Yankees should have brought back Isaiah Kiner-Falefa because I think Isaiah Kiner-Falefa the Yankees would probably have 1 or 2 more wins with IKF at second than Gleyber at second.
Well, actually, I would be fine with Gleyber Torres starting at second base. We both agree IKF could have come back to this team and been the utility guy instead of a DJ LeMahieu, right? Or instead of an Oswaldo, which, by the way, this is obviously before we realized Oswaldo can make the impact that he's made early on. But having said that, you're 100% right. IKF was the type of player that we're asking Gleyber to do the dirty work. And to be honest with you, if Gleyber was just doing what he's done each of the last 2 years, we'd all be very happy. We'd be talking about where's the money coming from, right? Is Clay Holmes out the door? Or where's Gleyber's contract? Because Yankees fans have never been shy. If you perform, we're cool paying you. We are cool. We don't care, right? Like, we were all clamoring about Patrick Corbin. I know no one wants to talk about that, but a lot of Yankees fans were like, yeah, he's performing right now. And then, of course, he had 1 run with Washington out the bullpen, but we wanted that guy because if you're performing, we're not going to sit here and pinch pennies. Not in New York, we're not. I paid $30 for chicken tenders. I'm not going to freak out about
it's half the cost
not
of
paying
video
Gleyber
game.
Torres. If Gleyber Torres hit 23 homers this year, a little below average, 23 homers, hit 262, and they said, hey, we're thinking about giving Gleyber $90 million, you think I care? No, I don't care.
No, but I do believe IKF would be a better option. And the stats actually back it up.
100%. Yeah.
So Gleyber's batting 222. IKF is batting 269. Gleyber has 6 home runs. IKF has 4. He's also played 4 fewer games. And he had 4 for the entire season in 2022, where he played the most games with the Yankees. Gleyber has 25 RBIs. IKF has 27. Gleyber has a 631 OPS. Kiner-Falefa has a .690. So, I mean, look, I bring it up because everyone got on IKF. And, there are like random Gleyber defenders on Twitter right now. And, my thing is, you need to be just as loud with Gleyber as you were for IKF, because poor IKF could not do right. I mean, the guy, his batting average would never dip below 240, right? And the big issue was he didn't hit home runs, right? People had such an issue with that. Well, Gleyber has 6 home runs, okay? Jose Trevino has 8 now. Jose Trevino has more home runs than Gleyber Torres, and we are in the middle of June. So
yeah, we just found out Trevino can't throw.
Well, that's the bummer, man. Let's pivot to that because we spent 22 minutes dunking on Gleyber Torres.
Gleyber Torres is stuffed in the rim. Well, we put him in the locker. Let's talk about Trevino.
So Trevino, man, it sucks because I actually think Trevino is a great catcher. Defensively, he does it all. He blocks. He's great framing. I mean, framing wise, like I think it's like framing, runs, saved, or whatever. There's an analytic I saw. Both he and Austin Wells are in the top 10. Find me another team that has 2 catchers on their team that are in the top 10 for those type of stats. You really can't. So it goes to show you the Yankees have an embarrassment of riches at catcher. Ben Rice, who we may or may not see at first. We'll talk about that with Rizzo. Agustin Ramirez, and then of course, Trevino and Wells. But talking about Trevino, he's batting 271, right? Love that. He's been hitting very well this year. Just hit an absolute beam today, over the monster. 8 homers on the year, 768 OPS. Now, as a fan of what he's doing, I want to give him his praise before I rip him. Because, Gary, I actually also want to point out that I was a dumbass because I think on one of the one of the shows, I was like, oh yeah, he threw a 75-mile-an-hour ball over
Do you
and
remember
got the
what I
guy at
said?
third. And you're like, that's wicked slow or whatever.
Dog shit.
I forget. Yeah. So you're like, that doesn't actually sound fast at all, Jake. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like it just looked fast. I don't know. So this is funny as hell because I'm gonna find this tweet that I sent to you. It was wild. I was actually, you were laughing, I was laughing. Okay,
Can I
here it
read
is.
you his Baseball Savant page, by the way? And I think this is really important for our
After this
listeners
tweet,
to hear this.
ready?
You found the tweet?
I found the tweet.
Read it.
Trevino entered tonight's game with an average throw of 71.3 miles per hour down to second. That's the worst mark out of all 60 catchers.
60? Okay, so we have to break this down for our listeners because we know our listeners are smart, okay? Because if you can listen to our show, our average watch time is like 20 minutes. We don't say nothing's really that basic on our show. We try to go into depth all the time, and it requires us a long time to do these shows because we try to like actually explain ourselves. And we're going to be wrong, but hell, we're going to be right too. That's why we're doing this podcast. But let's be clear. This is a player, statistically, he's the number one framer in the entire league. There's not one person in baseball that's a better framer than Jose Trevino, okay? Blocks above average, he's in the 86th percentile. So essentially what we're saying is offensively, you just mentioned his numbers. They're very good, okay? They almost warrant an all-star appearance. He catches the ball really well. He's got a noodle. I tweeted that he's got a pool noodle for an arm. And I guess the question is, can you win a World Series if
With
the
a pool
other
noodle?
team knows you have the worst throwing catcher behind the plate in the entire league?
No. So, you know what's funny? Here comes the football analogy. This game, I swear to you, also on ESPN, the game that I'm about to bring up, by the way. This game on ESPN, it was the 49ers and Rams, okay? Alex Cora tonight had a game plan. He knew, because keep in mind, I think Wells played last night, right?
Yeah.
Wells played last night. So notice as soon as Trevino came in, and to be fair, Stroman doesn't really keep guys honest the way, everyone else in the rotation does. Seems like he kind of just focuses on the batter, isn't just throwing, over to first a ton. So that has something to do with it. And a little bit of like a longer delivery in a sense. But Alex Cora came in here with a game plan. You could tell, run. They were stealing. They had a franchise record tonight, 9 stolen bases. You know what that reminded me of? When Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers ran roughshod of the Rams. The Rams had not seen it all year. And Kyle Shanahan was like, we're going to run the ball 35 freaking times. And that game was a disaster. I mean, Deebo Samuel the wide receiver, ran 12 times in that game, okay? And that's when, oh my God, Deebo Samuel can run the football. Remember? That's how that started. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because everyone's talking about Deebo Samuel now as the wide receiver that can also play running back and kind of changed the way teams looked at that team. Here's the deal, okay? Because it's a little different because it's not like everyone attacked the Rams the rest of the year. But teams are going to attack the Yankees now.
Why wouldn't they?
Because this was put on baseball, ESPN baseball, 7 p.m. Eastern time. You don't tell me people aren't going to see this? This is going to be all over ESPN. This is going to be all over MLB Network. I mean, they are going to be showing highlights of stolen bases, which we never see, by the way. Stolen bases are like dead at this point, outside of Ellie De La Cruz. So, yay for the stolen base crowd. But for the Yankees, this is a problem. And, the reason why it's such a problem is now, Trevino is great at everything else, defensively. This is a huge problem because now you're giving up second almost instantaneously if he can't get that arm out there. And Gary, it's not as simple as saying, well, we'll just play Austin Wells, because Austin Wells isn't hitting as much as I love the guy. He's not hitting as well as Trevino right now. So You put in Wells, now you lose Trevino's bat. And now Trevino he's hitting over 270. So he's one of the better hitters in the lineup, whether people want to admit it or not.
But he's got to
And now,
catch. I mean, he's not going to play anywhere else.
No, I agree, because now that's the issue. So he has to catch, because if you try him at DH, where are you going to put Stanton? I mean, that's the thing. Like, his power is too valuable to the lineup.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
If Jose Trevino, if you find that his bat is exceptional enough and just too impactful to take him out of the lineup, do you feel like if we do play Baltimore, right? If we do play LA, and some of these teams, and some of them can run, others can't. I would say Baltimore can run. Wouldn't you assume that Jose would you assume he's going to be a problem in October?
100%.
Okay, so if you would assume 100% that he's going to be a problem, then how is it not 100% that the Yankees have to find a remedy that doesn't have to do with Jose Trevino? You can be exceptional offensively, but also if defensively you cannot do the job, not framing, not blocking, all those things are exceptional. Throwing. If you cannot throw, then what do I look like putting you back there? Because you can hit your way all the way till October, but what wins in October? Execution offensively, right? Which Trevino can absolutely help us accomplish. But you need to be able to stop the running game, which teams do try and put on more of an effort to run than they do in the regular season. We saw the Arizona Diamondbacks get to the World Series running, right? They were running. So we have to remember what Corbin Carroll was doing in Arizona. Like, they were getting athletic out there. So there are athletic teams out there that will flat out expose Jose Trevino. And so what I'm saying is that, do we just put him back there? I'm in the camp to say the Yankees just flat out don't have any options that are good enough offensively to take Trevino out the lineup right now. And unless they find that option, right now it's not Wells to me until he shows his bat's close enough to Trevino to warrant him being the starting catcher. But until then, we kind of have this hole that we've got to navigate around.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? I mean, this game kind of opened up two holes. I mean, we'll talk about Rizzo in a second and what that looks like. But this is one of those weird ones where it's like, we had never looked at Trevino as a guy that was like a liability. And this isn't flip-flopping. I also want to make that very clear. We're not flip-flopping our views. This is an old school. We're taking in the information, and now we are, we think about it, and then we, deliver our analysis on it. Okay. Things change. So the flip-flopping, there's no flip-flopping here. Okay. What ended up happening tonight is that we uncovered something. We all did, as a fan base, community, all of that. We all uncovered the fact that the Red Sox essentially exposed the Yankees catcher, who has been great all year. They exposed him to having the weakest arm in the MLB, to the point where they can get free bases all day. And when you have Stroman, who has had a hard time walking guys, it's like giving up a double without giving up a double. That is a problem. Or in this case, a triple when you have Torres backing up second base, not backing up second base. So it was tough to watch tonight. And, it bothers me because I love that level of the game, and I wish the Yankees would do it more, stealing bases. And I understand why they can't, because they don't have that athleticism. But like tonight, I mean, 9 stolen bases. I know Hamilton had like 4 of them. But still, 9 stolen bases. I don't think I've ever seen that in all my years watching baseball. I don't think I've ever seen that any team do that. And Gary, it's like we just said. I mean, this was not known as a need. And now, as a World Series contender and one of the best damn teams in the league, now you actually have to worry about this. And it is a little concerning because, look, we like Trevino. He's hitting the ball well. We know that. But you can't tell me that you aren't concerned about a catcher's ability to get the ball from himself over to second base when a guy is stealing. And you can't say, well, it's up to the pitcher to keep him honest, because that's not the issue. Okay. You can keep him honest all you want. Trevino doesn't have the arm strength, and guys weren't running on him at this frequency. He was exposed tonight. Every team is going to look at tonight, and they are going to study it, because they know the Yankees are one of the toughest teams right now out there. They're the first team to 50 wins. Okay. They have more wins than anybody. And out of all the division leaders, they have like the smallest gap between them and second place.
Yeah.
That's what's like playing, in the same division as the Orioles. But to your point, with that being said, you got guys on the Orioles who can absolutely steal bases. Okay. And I'm looking at Mr. former farmhand who was traded away to the A's, who I'm totally blanking on right now. The Yankees had him. He is on
Jorge Mateo.
Yeah, Mateo.
Yeah.
He is on the Orioles. Obviously, anytime he plays the Yankees, he's trying to go off. He's hit home runs against them. He's given them fits in the past. If Trevino, unfortunately, if he is out there, that dude's stealing 4 bases, on Tuesday.
Yeah, Cedric Mullins is looking at an opportunity there.
Yeah.
And what's crazy
Henderson.
is that
why not Gunnar Henderson?
People really do believe that you can have this glaring hole, because let's remember this quickly. Teams that are really good in this league, every single one of them has a hole somewhere. Okay, if you go look at Baseball Savant, you watch them every day with your own 2 eyes, you will find something they're not good at, some way to expose them. Okay, the LA Dodgers are a team that I love to use because they've made it to the mountaintop a lot this past decade. They've made it at least to the World Series. And the Dodgers have shown themselves, at least when they sign Shohei Ohtani, they're heavily left-handed. Okay. You've got guys like Freddie Freeman and you've got Shohei Ohtani. And a lot of those teams were saying, what do we do to expose this? We have got to get those guys out. We don't know how we're going to do it, but we need to do something to expose their left-handed lineup. So what did their division rival who beat them last year in the playoffs do? They signed Jordan Montgomery, okay, former Yankee, and they signed Eduardo Rodriguez, okay? Now, teams are showing you, we will wait all year to try and expose what you don't do well. I promise you guys, this issue that you saw on Sunday Night Baseball, yes, we might forget about this because we can go win 2 of 3 or 3 of 4 against Baltimore. I promise you guys, you will not be thinking about Gleyber Torres or Anthony Rizzo or Trevino's throwing game if we sweep this series against Baltimore. You'll just forget about it all. We just will. Okay, that's just the human element. But the teams in the dugout will not forget. They won't. They're paid to remember this shit. They will hold on to this information until they need wins. When they need wins against the New York Yankees, they're going to say, hey guys, their infield defense has improved this year, which it has. Offensively, much improved. They're getting a ton out of their starting rotation outside of Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole's returning. Okay, their bullpen is shored up. They're maybe going to make another addition to that bullpen. What do we do to expose this team? There's not really any holes anywhere. The run game. And that's just what it is, Jake. It's a situation where the Yankees have figured out, okay, our flaw, we've got some bullpen depth issues, right? We've got some depth issues at third base, some second base. We don't really know what we're doing there. But overall, we're pretty freaking good. We're good. And when you've got a situation where you're playing one of, if not the best team in the AL East or in baseball, you've got to look around and get nitpicky and say, how do we beat this team? Because when we go into the postseason, on paper, we're going to be a better team than just about everybody. It's going to be pretty even against Baltimore, but all those other teams, we end up facing like Houston out the wild card or any of these other teams out the AL. They're going to be an inferior team. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to put guys on the field they feel can take advantage of the base pass, and we've kind of exposed ourselves tonight. It was a bad loss. It was ugly as hell. But the most important thing that happened today, I don't blame Stroman at all. okay, for these stolen bases. Yes, you can argue that guys do better than others holding guys on. Like some guys like John Lester flat out will not throw the ball over to first base, and that's just ridiculous. It's egregious. And then some guys are just ridiculous at holding guys on, like Zach Greinke. Okay, they just have it in them. But
Yeah.
when you are talking about the slowest pop time in all of baseball, from not just every catcher that starts in this entire league, but also the backup catchers, it's a problem. You cannot sell me that it's not a problem. So that's where I'm at right now. It's a humongous problem. And frankly, just because I notice a problem doesn't mean I think the Yankees should just trade him or trade for a catcher. It's much easier said than done to bring in really good catchers in this league. It's not easy to do. So we just kind of have to hope it. I don't know why it would get better, but the Yankees got to find a solution somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm not ever going to suggest like trading away Trevino just because that would be ridiculous. I mean, he's
It'd
batting
be
over
crazy.
270,
Yep.
but it is an issue, and it's a real big issue when you realize that the margin for error in the playoffs is just so slim, and it's amazing how you'll go from seeing games 10-5, 9-4, 7-3, and then the postseason, like we've talked about already on the show, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. Like, it's tough because it really feels like every single run matters in the postseason. And that also means, field positioning. Every single time you get a bag, okay? You go from first to second, you go from second to third, you're in scoring position, you're 90 feet away. Like when you're talking about the margin for error, like obviously tonight, the Yankees losing this game because they got a bases loaded opportunity down 4-3 with 0 outs. And they had 2 strikeouts from Gleyber and Trevino, and they had LeMahieu line out and not get anybody home. Can't really blame LeMahieu. He did put the ball in play
He
to
shouldn't have
not
been in
get
that situation to begin with.
to not even get a run home was insane. And obviously, if Gleyber doesn't swing at that awful, awful, awful pitch, they score the tying run. It's walked in, which who knows how much the game changes then. The point I'm making, though, is positioning on the base paths, allowing these easy stolen bases will absolutely kill you in a regular season game, but will be the death of you in the postseason. So, yeah, it is one of those things where I don't know if he can work on it. I don't know if he's hurt. Like I don't really know because it does feel like tonight was, maybe just the perfect storm, but regardless, it stuck out like a sore thumb and now everybody, they have a target on their back. It's basically in a sense it's like they just won the World Series and everyone's gunning for them. Everyone just saw their catcher get absolutely exposed on the national scene. They're all going to be gunning for him. So it's not going to be easy. But pivoting to the last thing I want to talk about for this game, and then we'll wrap this thing up. Anthony Rizzo, okay? First off, I feel for him. I really do like Rizzo. I don't just say that. I want him to do well because I genuinely like the player. I do think it's past his time. I just don't think he's still the guy. I really don't. Same thing with Gleyber. I'm kind of okay. Like I've accepted they're probably not, definitely not Rizzo because the age. Gleyber because I don't know. I don't think they're going to pay him. I can't even disagree with it at this point. And, obviously LeMahieu at some point will be gone as well. But Rizzo suffered a potentially serious wrist injury. Okay. I know they said whatever x-rays were negative. They used whatever they could at the no. He's going to go back to the Bronx, which is where this Baltimore series is being taken place. He's going to go back to the Bronx. They have an off day on Monday. They're probably going to find out stuff they don't want to find out because regardless of how you feel about Rizzo at home, the Yankees still look at him like he is a necessity. This is going to be a significant loss. And also, let's remind people, even though we're getting on Rizzo and everything, let's remind people DJ LeMahieu isn't hitting very well right now. Okay. He's batting 188. So it's not like I'm sitting here like, oh, well, thank God, LeMahieu is I mean, he's not hitting well either. So look, the reality is there's a chance that Rizzo's going to miss a lot of time. We're going to see. Okay. This is the same thing. I was watching the Dodger game and Mookie Betts got plunked on the hand. I don't think Dodger fans realize what that could be. That could be a hamate bone injury. And if
Oh,
that
it
is
was a
the
broken
case,
hand. It was a
yeah,
broken hand.
yeah, that's going to be bad. I mean, we already saw it with, Benintendi. We saw it with, it's not good. With this could be something that lingers for a while. And also, Gary, I'll go as far as to say if this ends up being serious, Rizzo may never play first base again for the New York Yankees. I'll say that right now. If this is serious, it's going to take a lot of time, and he might just be a DH at that point. He might not get traded, but I don't know if I see him playing first base if this is a significant injury. I don't know if he would miss the entire season or anything like that, but I think by the time he comes back, the Yankees will have already kind of figured out what they want to do to replace him.
Okay.
I mean, he wasn't playing that well there anyway defensively, that they would try to, force him back in. So this is significant for Rizzo's career, and it could be a significant, shift in, what the Yankees do, because that looked awful.
It didn't look good, but I would just say as far as Rizzo's future, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to assume, I won't assume doom and gloom about this injury. Obviously, it didn't look good, but I'm going to make the assumption that he's going to need a few days, right? Very similar to what we saw at Juan Soto. And then I'll kind of make a judgment based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I would just assume this means DJ LeMahieu at first base, and we're going to get Oswaldo over at third base full time. And then we kind of just go from there. Because right now, the Yankees, they seem to have some type of routine going in terms of their defensive alignment and their offensive alignment and the way they use their batting order and having some type of consistency. The Yankees haven't had that over the last few years. And one thing's for certain, part of that's injury, and another part of that is choice and overuse of analytics. Sometimes the Yankees just flat out will just be doing musical chairs with their offensive lineup. And you're like, who's building this fucking lineup? Seriously, who's putting this lineup together? There were times where they're sitting there talking about whether or not Aaron Judge should hit leadoff and if we should hit Gleyber Torres too, right? So like we were just having all types of stupid conversations, but honing this back into Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo's a player, his ops, we'll just use his ops because a lot of times people judge offensive performance based on that, right? Rizzo's ops is 630. League average is about hovering around 700. So this is a below average, at least in the short term, performing offensive player. His defense this year, Jake, I think it's safe to say you would describe it and anybody else would describe it as pretty underwhelming. Okay. He would tell you it's not been the best defensive year for him. It just hasn't. And this is not a player that the Yankees are signed up with long term. They're just not. He could be gone next year. So I say all that to say this. The New York Yankees are in a position where they don't have this long-term marriage going with Rizzo. They have reason to find a remedy at first base. Now, that remedy is probably not on the market. It's probably not Pete Alonso that I know, to which we've talked about with that Jeff Passan report. But what's most likely is that the Yankees are already contractually obligated to pay some of these other guys. You brought up Aaron Judge should be sliding over to first base anyways. I kind of agree with you. And this is more so about what else is happening on the roster, not just about Aaron Judge or just about Rizzo. It's what's best for the Yankees. So, yes, I agree with you that this could potentially be Rizzo's ticket out the door. But I will say this, I would be shocked to see him at DH on this team. If any player's ops is 630 and you're slotting somebody in as the DH, it's going to remind me of like Cordero, okay, and all those guys being in the lineup, because there's no reason a player that you would consider or anyone else would consider hitting below average offensive baseball to be slotted at designated hitter. I need designated hitters to be hitting, okay? So
No,
that's
I
all I'm
I hear
saying.
you.
If
I hear
he's
you.
going to be back with the Yankees, I feel like the only justification for him being on the team is he has to play first base. has to be that like anchored defensively first baseman and get back to that level. Because if it's not that, he's never been the offensive player where I'm just going to like clear a spot and move Giancarlo out the way, move a potential
No.
Dominguez spot. No way. Like
Well, I
that,
think that's
he's
the
first base or
issue.
bust.
That's the issue, is that really the first baseman is like an extended DH. Typically
Yeah.
speaking, that guy's going to hit 30 bombs. You know, he's going to at least bat 240, whatever. Rizzo isn't doing that. So, yeah, it's not great right now. I didn't love, by the way, I'm not, blaming the first baseman saying it was malicious, but it looked a little weird how he somehow gets checked. Like, because, I mean, Rizzo didn't trip. I think the broadcast pointed out that he tripped over his own feet. He got checked. It was nonchalant, right? It's not like the guy just shoved him like it was hockey. But I just don't know why the first baseman is making that play. I don't know why he's making that movement, because I'm watching it and like Rizzo's flying. It's not the first base, it's the pitcher. And it seems like he moves in a different way. I know the ball was behind him, but there was something that was just weird about that. I don't know. What did you think? Because I mean, again, I don't think it was malicious, but I'm just like, why is this happening? We got bigger bases and somehow that happens. Literally, this shit was supposed to be the bigger bases is supposed to avoid this. So I really think at that point, we talk about Soto and the fielder's interference. I think you got to let the player run through first. He's trying to go and get the ball, and he just caused a potential serious injury on a runner. And I'll take it a step further. I don't think the MLB protects runners enough. They just don't.
Well, that play, he didn't do anything to get out the way. Okay.
No.
And if you actually slow down that play, to which I have it on my screen, I've got another screen offset here. And the pitcher does absolutely nothing.
He gets in the way. He literally moves forward.
Right. And
I don't think it was malicious, but you know what I mean? Like it's bullshit. There's
some other word for it, somewhere in between. Because you can definitely tell, and I will say this, when you're watching plays in slow-mo, players aren't going to react as fast as because they're not taking in the same information that we're taking in. He didn't know Rizzo was there. But when he does acknowledge that Rizzo's there, no part of him is going the direction that he clearly needs to be going, which is the direction of the field, not to his left, which was literally right in Rizzo's way. So it's not malicious, because like malicious would be like Manny Machado stepping on someone's foot going into first base. That's malicious, right? Or what happened with Pedroia sliding into his shin. That's malicious.
Yeah.
But this play is just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It felt like A-Rod slapping the ball out of someone's glove, like something a little past that. That wasn't baseball. I don't know what the hell that was.
Yeah, and also, Rizzo is, I know it wasn't baseball. Rizzo is on the left side of the line, so that's why like Red Sox fans were using that as an argument. But the irony is that he tries to get outside the line when he's coming across first. So he does the right thing. And then, you have the shove, whether it was incidental or not. I don't know. I don't think it was malicious, like I said, but yeah, it's just that shit can't happen. And baseball has to protect runners. And I don't know why they don't, frankly, Gary. It's like, it feels like runners don't matter in the eyes of baseball. Like, how many times have they called fielders or, runners interference, this year, or catchers interference or whatever? It seems like, if you're a batter, you get preferential treatment. But if you're a runner, you are the target. You can't get in the way. We talked about with Juan Soto. I don't know what he's supposed to do there. There's a pop-up. He literally is leading off the base, and it's a soft pop-up near him. He needs to get back. He tries to get around. He can't, because the guy is in his way, and he doesn't know how to catch the fly ball. Remember that? And it's like now he's out because the dude is just bad at his job and totally misjudged the pop-up. There's way too much, and we've already seen this multiple times this year, so that's why I'm bringing it up to wrap up the show. There's way too much emphasis on protecting the fielder than there is the runner, because I think the runner is in a lot of danger on the base paths. I mean, that first base play, that is always scary. We've seen that. We saw it with what's his face, the guy that went to he went to the Diamondbacks either last year or 2 years ago. I
Oh,
remember.
was it Christian Walker?
No. Center fielder, contact bat. Maybe he's not with the Diamondbacks. I totally forgot his name. Para. Damn it, it's gonna kill me.
Well, the only Para I know is Gerardo Para.
Yeah, no, it's
It's
no,
not
no,
him.
no.
And I'll
It's
say
not.
this though about the whole base runner thing to just conclude it. If the base runner cannot go into the baseline and go to the base or through the bag, because in this situation, Anthony Rizzo's job, and if you actually look at the play, he's on the inside of the bag, and then he eventually corrects himself and he's directly in the base path. Now, when he gets to first base and he is directly in the base path, it's established it's a play at first base. The runner has the absolute right to go straight through the bag. That's his only job. Now, if the fielder gets in his way, in my opinion, it should absolutely be interference, like completely. You should not just be able to run into a runner and just be like, well, I guess the timing of the play, we were just in the same spot at the same time. No, you just shouldn't be able to go over there. Where's he supposed to go? Outside the base path?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I really do have an issue with that, Gary. I'm not kidding.
And it sucks that he got hurt too, because that's the worst part of all this is that
Oh,
we felt like,
absolutely.
according to the rules, the runner did what he was supposed to do. And him following the rules has him on the ground, rolling around, being sent back to the Bronx so we could figure out what to do with him. And all for some pitcher who I don't even know who the hell his name is. So that's annoying, right? It's obnoxious.
So AJ Pollock, he had a wicked bad first base. Like his leg just gave out, I think it was. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, it was AJ Pollock. I do remember that. And he got hurt. He had like a serious leg injury. Maybe it wasn't him, but I thought it was. He had like a serious leg injury going through the base, and like the leg just gives out. And it's like, it's a really dangerous play. So I understand there's, you can't do everything with it, and pitcher is running over to cover first, but the pitcher also has to be, aware of what's going on. At that point, the ball went by you. You can go and pick that up once he crosses the bag. Why are you getting in his way when you already know he's going to be safe? Like, it just, yeah, I didn't love it. If it's not Pollock, might have been a Washington National. Maybe it was Jason Worth. There was it was so bad. Oh, was it Harper? Was it Bryce Harper? Did he have like a really bad injury where he was running?
It could have been
the
Bryce
first
Harper.
base bag.
I mean, it could have been, but I mean, long story short, it's just shitty to see somebody get hurt when they're following the rules, right? You ask us to follow the rules, I'm getting hurt and I'm being ran into by a player to be named later. Yeah, and it's annoying. So that's the situation we're in. Obviously, when a guy's running straight into the bag, he should be fine. We saw it with Soto. He ran straight into the bag. They acted like it was a huge issue and pretended like there was somewhere else for him to be going other than straight back into first base. So, that's the situation we're in. It seems like it's happening, and there's just less of an understanding of how this rule is going to be applied, how infield fly rules are going to be applied, catcher's interference. It just seems like it changes from time to time again. But I will say this. When you win these I would say these lack of consistency in the application of the rules, they don't bother you. But of course, when you lose in a tough game against Boston, I mean, it obviously stings. So we'll hope that we can turn it around against Baltimore and we don't have to harp on these type of plays.
Yeah. And we figured we'd give you guys an extra long episode. Reason being, Yankees don't play tomorrow. So tell all your friends, check out this episode. No Yankees, but you can listen to Yankees Unloaded instead. But the Yankees do come back to play at the stadium on the 18th, which is a Tuesday. It's Albert Suarez taking on Nestor Cortez. So that'll be the first game. Feels like Nestor Cortez just pitched. I don't know why, but he will be on the mound against the Orioles. 47-24 Orioles, 22-10 on the road, taking on the Yankees, who are 50-24, who are 22-10 at home. Something has to give. They both have the same record, just away and home. But we'll see what ends up happening. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Follow us on all social media at JK Bogan, at Gary Sheffield Jr., and at Yankees Unloaded. We will see you guys in the next video. Take care, folks.
And like this video.